The Baltimore Ravens are in absolute freefall. A team that came into the season with Super Bowl expectations, with arguably one of the deepest rosters in football, is now sitting at 1 win and 5 losses. And the worst part? They're not just losing, they're becoming the punchline of the league. It's one thing to be bad, but it's another to be disrespected. And that's exactly what happened this week when the Chicago Bears took a subtle jab that speaks volumes about how the Ravens are currently viewed around the NFL. So picture this. The Ravens, coming off their bye week, are trying to regroup, re-energize, and reset after one of the worst starts in recent franchise history. Meanwhile, the Bears are riding high on a 4-game win streak, full of swagger, confidence, and momentum. And in the middle of that, they post a seemingly innocent video. A clip of players hanging out in the facility, playing ping pong, shooting hoops, gaming, having fun. But the message? Oh, it was loud and clear. This wasn't just some casual content. It was a carefully timed jab. Because if you've been following the Ravens situation, you know exactly why that video hit differently. It all goes back to the much-discussed removal of recreational equipment from the Ravens' locker room. Initially, it was reported that the coaches had banned the games, stripped out the ping pong tables, video games, and anything that resembled fun. But the real story, as it turns out, was that the players themselves, specifically the veterans, were the ones who made the call. They wanted to eliminate distractions and refocus the team. Admirable in theory, but in practice, it made them look like a squad in crisis, desperate to find leadership and accountability in the middle of a spiraling season. And now, here come the Bears, trolling them with a simple video. No need for captions throwing shade or aggressive statements. Just a clip that says everything without saying anything. They're showing that their locker room is loose, that their team is winning and still having fun. Meanwhile, Baltimore's feels like a pressure cooker with no relief. This is where things stand now. The Ravens, once feared for their physicality and relentless style, are now the butt of jokes around the league. It's almost unbelievable when you remember how hyped this team was before the season started. Lamar Jackson finally had some real offensive weapons. The defense was deep and physical. And yet, 6 games in, this team looks lost. On the field, they've been inconsistent. Off the field, they're tense. And now, even opponents are getting comfortable enough to take shots at them. And this isn't just about a video or a losing streak. It's about perception. It's about how the Ravens are viewed right now. Teams used to dread seeing Baltimore on the schedule. They knew they were in for a war. Now, teams are clowning them. They're laughing. The Ravens don't intimidate anyone. And that says everything about where this organization is at the moment. Even internally, the cracks are showing. When offensive coordinator Todd Monken was asked if there would be any changes to the offensive personnel heading into this critical Week 8 matchup against the Bears, his answer was not what Ravens fans wanted to hear. In fact, he basically said, "We are who we are. No major changes coming. Just a little hope that getting Patrick Ricard and Ronnie Stanley back will fix things." But here's the problem. It's not about hoping someone comes back and magically transforms this offense. The offensive line has been a disaster. Lamar Jackson has been getting hit constantly, and a huge part of that has been the poor play of the interior line, especially Andrew Voorhees and Daniel Falale. There's no sugarcoating it. Voorhees has struggled, but Falale has arguably been one of the worst guards in football this season. According to the advanced metrics, he has the worst average time to pressure allowed among all guards in the NFL. Just over 2 seconds. That's unacceptable. And it shows up on the field. You don't even need to be an analytics junkie to see it. You can feel it when you watch. Lamar Jackson doesn't have time. Tyler Linderbaum, one of the best centers in the league, looks human because he's constantly covering for the mess on both sides of him. And with that kind of chaos up front, how can you expect the offense to function? The fan base is screaming for changes. They want someone like Corey Bullock to get a shot. Anyone really. Just try something different. But the coaching staff seems hesitant. They're rolling with what they've got. Maybe it's because they still believe these guys can improve. Maybe it's because they've got too much pride to bench their draft picks. But either way, it feels like they're choosing loyalty over logic right now. And that's a dangerous place to be when you're 1-5. Even with Patrick Ricard returning, the expectation shouldn't be that he's going to save the offensive line. That's just not realistic. Ricard is a massive presence, a great blocker, and can help in both the run and pass game. But he's not a miracle worker. The offensive line issues are structural. It's about talent and execution. It's about scheme. And at this point, it's about stubbornness too. The Ravens seem committed to what they've built, even when it's clearly not working. What's worse is that all of this uncertainty and lack of answers is happening at a time when Lamar Jackson's availability is still up in the air. He's been back at practice, which is a good sign. And by all reports, he's looked solid. But nothing is guaranteed. And with his injury history and the brutal state of the offensive line, there's real concern about rushing him back before he's fully ready. Because let's be honest, if this line continues to collapse the way it has, they're not just risking a loss, they're risking their quarterback. And maybe that's why there's so much tension in the building right now. Maybe that's why veterans are removing ping pong tables and coaches are keeping everything close to the vest. Because this team knows what's on the line. They know that if things don't turn around soon, this season could slip away for good. And with the trade deadline looming and jobs on the line, the pressure couldn't be higher. It's a wild place to be for a team that was supposed to be one of the league's elite. Instead, they're just trying to claw their way back to relevance. And this game against the Bears? It's massive, not just because of the standings, but because of what it represents. Pride, reputation, identity. If the Ravens lose this one at home, against a team that just publicly mocked them, the fallout could be brutal. And while the embarrassment of being trolled by another team stings, the deeper concern for Baltimore continues to be the health and status of Lamar Jackson. Because no matter how bad things have looked through 6 weeks, the entire direction of this franchise still revolves around number 8. Every win they hope to claw out, every slim playoff dream still lingering in the background. It all hinges on whether Lamar is healthy enough to take the field and be Lamar. This week, Ravens fans held their collective breath as Jackson returned to practice following his hamstring injury. On Wednesday, he was late getting onto the field, a move that sparked more questions than confidence. People wondered if the injury was worse than expected or if the team was trying to hide something. But Thursday brought some much-needed calm. Lamar was on time, present, moving around, and practicing. He was listed as a limited participant, but all eyes were on how he looked. And while no one's ready to declare him fully healthy, the consensus among reporters and insiders was positive. He looked like himself again. And that, right now, feels like the biggest victory Baltimore could ask for. Because let's be honest, if Lamar Jackson doesn't play, the Ravens have little chance against anyone, let alone a red-hot Bears team. And even if he does suit up, the offensive line has to find a way to keep him upright. The Ravens can't afford to throw their franchise quarterback back into the fire just to watch him get mauled again. We've already seen that story before. The guy gets no time in the pocket, the hits keep coming, and eventually, the body breaks down. If Baltimore truly believes in Lamar as the face of the franchise, and based on the contract they handed him, they do, then they've got to protect him better. Todd Monken's comments this week didn't inspire much confidence. He's excited to have Rickard and Stanley back, but he's not anticipating major personnel changes. That feels like more of the same. And that same has resulted in Lamar being one of the most pressured quarterbacks in the league. At this point, it almost feels reckless to expect Lamar to operate within this broken structure and just magically turn everything around. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ball, the Ravens made a small move that might help, bringing in veteran pass rusher Carl Lawson. It's not a headline-grabbing deal. It's not the blockbuster trade fans were hoping for, but it is something. The Ravens only had 3 true edge rushers on the active roster, and Lawson brings power, experience, and a little bit of burst. He might not suit up this week. Being signed on Thursday makes that a quick turnaround, but he could be elevated, and even if he only plays a few snaps, it's better than rolling with an empty rotation again. But Lawson alone isn't the answer. He's a patch on a leaking boat. Baltimore's pass rush has been underwhelming all season. Justin Matabike, who hasn't played since week 2, still leads the team in sacks. That should tell you everything. The Ravens are struggling to generate any consistent pressure, and it's putting even more weight on a secondary that has been stretched thin. Injuries to Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton, and others have left the back end exposed at times. And without pressure up front, quarterbacks have had all day to throw. That's a recipe for disaster, especially against a Bears offense that, despite their own early season struggles, has found a rhythm lately. Caleb Williams might still be adjusting to the NFL, but he's got the arm talent and mobility to make you pay if he's comfortable. And that's the issue. Too many quarterbacks this year have been comfortable against Baltimore. The Ravens are rarely dictating terms. Instead, they're reacting, playing catch-up, and hoping for a mistake. It's a passive style of football that feels foreign to a franchise that once prided itself on relentless aggression. And that's why this week matters. Not just because of standings or records, but because of identity. The Ravens need to figure out who they are, and quickly. Are they the team that folds under adversity, lets other teams push them around, and becomes the punchline of the league? Or are they the team that fights back, reclaims their physical edge, and reminds the league who they are? If they're going to be that second team, it has to start now. There's no more time. 1-5 is already a hole. 1-6? That's a grave. Especially in the AFC, where the margin for error is razor thin. And with the Dolphins coming up in Week 9 on a short week, this Bears game becomes even more crucial. Lose it, and Baltimore's season might effectively be over before November even begins. Health-wise, they're in a better spot than they've been in weeks. Marlon Humphrey, Patrick Ricard, Roquan Smith, Ronnie Stanley, Kyle Hamilton, and others were all full participants in Thursday's practice. That's a big deal. Getting that many starters back on the field changes the equation. It gives you hope. But hope only gets you so far if it's not backed up by execution. And execution has been Baltimore's biggest problem all year. Even in games where they've started strong, the Ravens have failed to close. Penalties, turnovers, missed assignments. It's been a cocktail of unforced errors and lapses in discipline. And that's what makes this team so frustrating. The talent is there. The roster is loaded. But the consistency, the focus, the edge, that's what's missing. Maybe the Bears trolling video will spark something. Maybe it gives the Ravens just enough fire to come out swinging. Say what you want about bulletin board material. Sometimes, pride is a powerful motivator. When a team starts mocking you publicly, it should ignite something. And if it doesn't, then maybe this team really is broken. Because as much as we talk about scheme and personnel, football is still about will. It's about lining up across from your opponent and saying, "You're not going to push me around today." For the past 6 weeks, Baltimore has looked like the team getting bullied. They're not hitting first. They're reacting. They're waiting for something to spark them instead of being the spark. That has to change. This is the week to change it. At home, after a bye, with your quarterback potentially returning, against a team that just poked the bear. If that's not enough to get you fired up, then what is? Before we dive in, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support keeps us bringing you the latest news on the Baltimore Ravens. And hey, drop your take in the comments below. We want to hear from the flock. There's a storm brewing in Baltimore, and it might just have the rest of the AFC trembling. Whispers around league circles suggest that the Baltimore Ravens have pulled off a jaw-dropping move, reportedly securing none other than KHALIL MACK to bolster their already formidable defense. Nothing has been officially confirmed yet, but insiders claim that negotiations have reached an advanced stage, and an announcement could be imminent. If true, this would be the kind of acquisition that changes everything. MACK, a perennial defensive force known for his ruthless pass rush and veteran savvy, could bring a new level of chaos to opposing quarterbacks. Imagine him lined up beside Roquan Smith and Kyle Hamilton, a trio capable of turning any offensive line into nervous wrecks. The Ravens' defense, already among the NFL's most disciplined units, might be on the verge of becoming downright terrifying. Sources close to the team hint that this move has been in the works for weeks, carefully orchestrated by Baltimore's front office with a clear mission: reclaim defensive dominance. After years of near misses and playoff heartbreak, the Ravens seem determined to build a unit that doesn't just contain offenses, it destroys them. Around the league, the reaction has been a mix of disbelief and admiration. Classic Ravens, one anonymous executive reportedly said. They don't talk about it, they just make it happen. MACK, entering the twilight of his career, would bring invaluable leadership to a young locker room hungry for a Super Bowl run. Fans have already begun buzzing across social media, flooding timelines with mock-ups of MACK in Ravens purple and gold. If the rumors prove true, Baltimore could be fielding one of the most complete defenses in recent memory, a nightmare for AFC North rivals and a statement to the rest of the league. The Ravens mean business. No press releases yet. No photos. Just murmurs, and the sense that something seismic is about to hit Baltimore. If KHALIL MACK really is on his way, the Ravens might not just dominate games. They might redefine what dominance looks like. That's it for this update. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay in the loop with exclusive news on our Baltimore Ravens, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what the flock thinks. Drop your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next one.